If you want to be successful, the first thing you need to understand is that your comfort zone is your biggest enemy. Most people live their entire lives trapped inside it, never pushing past their limits, never testing themselves, never experiencing what it truly means to grow. They settle for what's easy, what's safe, and what's familiar. And that's exactly why they fail. The human brain is wired for survival, not success. It wants to keep you safe, to avoid risks, to seek comfort. But comfort kills dreams. It lulls you into mediocrity, convincing you that staying where you are is better than venturing into the unknown. Think about it. Every major breakthrough in history, every great invention, every world-changing business, every legendary success story came from someone who was willing to step outside their comfort zone. The people who changed the world were the ones who dared to challenge the status quo, who embraced discomfort, who took massive risks. They weren't sitting at home binge-watching TV, hoping that success would magically land in their lap. They were out there, failing, struggling, pushing, breaking through barriers. Yet most people live their entire lives avoiding discomfort. They wake up, go to a job they hate, come home and distract themselves with entertainment, social media, and mindless activities. They convince themselves that they're doing okay, that they don't need to do anything extreme, that they can just wait for the right time. But the truth is, there is no right time. There is no perfect moment when success will come knocking on your door. The only way to achieve anything great is to force yourself into situations that make you uncomfortable, to challenge yourself beyond what you think is possible, to deliberately put yourself in situations where you have no choice but to grow. Most people don't do this because it's hard, it's painful, it's terrifying. But what they don't realize is that staying in their comfort zone is even worse. It's a slow death. It's the kind of pain that creeps up on you over years. Watching other people succeed, seeing opportunities slip away, realizing you wasted your potential, knowing deep down that you could have done more but didn't. That kind of pain is far worse than the temporary discomfort of pushing yourself beyond your limits. The most successful people in the world understand this. They intentionally seek out discomfort. They embrace challenges. They train their minds to associate pain with growth because they know that every time they step out of their comfort zone, they expand their potential, they build resilience, and they move one step closer to their goals. But here's the harsh reality. 99% of people will never do this. They will make excuses. They will tell themselves they don't have time. They will convince themselves that they are not ready. And so they will stay exactly where they are year after year, watching from the sidelines as others achieve what they never will. And this leads to the next reason why most people will never be successful. They don't have a plan. They have wishes. They have dreams. They have vague ideas of what they want in life, but they have no real strategy, no concrete steps, no clear roadmap. They tell themselves, one day I'll be rich, or someday I'll start that business, or eventually I'll get in shape. But one day is not a plan. Someday is not a strategy. Eventually never happens. Look at anyone who has ever achieved greatness. They didn't just stumble into success. They had a vision, a strategy, and a relentless drive to execute. They knew exactly what they wanted. They wrote it down. They created a plan, and they took massive, focused action every single day to make it happen. Success is not an accident. It is a result of deliberate planning, relentless execution, and an unshakable commitment to the goal. Most people, however, operate in a state of randomness. They go through life hoping that things will somehow work out. They set vague goals like, I want to be rich or I want to be happy, but they have no idea what that actually looks like. No clear targets, no deadlines, no accountability, and then they wonder why nothing changes. They wake up a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and they're still in the same place, still struggling, still frustrated. Here's the truth. If you don't have a plan, you're not serious. If you don't have a plan, you're just dreaming. If you don't have a plan, you are leaving your life up to chance, and chance never leads to success. Think about it like this. If you wanted to build a house, would you just start randomly stacking bricks together and hope it turns into something? No, you would have a blueprint. You would have a step-by-step process. You would know exactly what materials you need, exactly what needs to be done, and exactly how long it will take. Yet, when it comes to success, most people do the complete opposite. They wander through life without any clear direction, hoping that somehow, someday, things will just work out. But life doesn't work that way. If you don't have a roadmap, you will get lost. If you don't have a clear destination, you will go in circles. If you don't take control of your own future, someone else will. This is why 99% of people never make it. They want success, but they don't want to do the work. They dream about financial freedom, but they refuse to create a financial plan. They talk about starting a business, but they never actually sit down and map out the steps. They say they want to be in the best shape of their life, but they don't commit to a workout plan or a nutrition strategy. The reality is, success is not reserved for the lucky or the talented. It is reserved for those who are willing to put in the work, to create a plan and to execute it relentlessly. It is for those who are willing to do what most people won't. But the sad truth is, most people never will. They will keep wishing, they will keep hoping, they will keep waiting for the perfect time, not realizing that the perfect time will never come. And so they will stay exactly where they are, watching as life passes them by, watching as others achieve what they never had the courage to pursue. Fear is the single biggest force that keeps people stuck. It controls more lives than failure ever could. Most people think that failure is what stops them, but failure isn't the problem. Fear of failure is. Fear paralyzes people before they even take the first step. It convinces them to settle for less, to avoid risk, to stay in the same place because stepping outside of their comfort zone feels too uncertain. Fear is the voice in your head that tells you, what if it doesn't work? What if people judge me? What if I lose everything? It creates worst case scenarios in your mind and makes you believe them before you've even tried. It tricks you into thinking that staying where you are is safer than moving forward, even when staying where you are is the real danger. The truth is, fear will never go away. The difference between successful people and everyone else isn't that they don't feel fear, it's that they act in spite of it. They recognize fear for what it is, an illusion, a mental barrier, a story their mind is telling them. They understand that fear is just their brain trying to protect them from discomfort, but they also understand that discomfort is necessary for growth. So instead of letting fear stop them, they train themselves to push through it, to rewire their mindset to associate fear with opportunity instead of danger. But the sad reality is that 99% of people don't do this. They let fear control their lives. They let it dictate their decisions. They let it convince them that taking action is too risky, that putting themselves out there is too scary, that going after their dreams is too uncertain. And so they do nothing. They stay stuck in jobs they hate, in relationships that don't fulfill them, in financial situations that stress them out every single day. All because fear convinced them that trying and failing would be worse than not trying at all. But what they don't realize is that the real failure is never trying in the first place. The real failure is looking back on your life and realizing that you played it safe instead of going after what you truly wanted. The real failure is allowing fear to steal your potential, your opportunities, your future. Fear is a liar. It will tell you that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes, that you should wait until you feel ready, but you will never feel ready. The only way to overcome fear is to take action despite it, to move forward even when your hands are shaking, to do the thing you're scared of until it becomes normal. Most people don't understand this, and that's why most people will never be successful. They wait for fear to disappear before they take action, not realizing that fear only disappears after they take action. They wait for courage to show up before they step forward, not realizing that courage is built in the process. They think that successful people are just fearless, but that's not true. Successful people just don't let fear dictate their actions. They feel the fear and do it anyway. And one of the biggest reasons people are controlled by fear is because they are addicted to instant gratification. They are so used to getting what they want immediately, entertainment, food, dopamine, distractions, that they never develop the ability to delay pleasure for a greater reward. The modern world has made everything so easy that people have become weak. They have lost the ability to endure discomfort, to work hard without seeing immediate results, to stay disciplined when they don't feel like it. Think about it. We live in a world where you can get anything instantly. You can order food and have it delivered in minutes. You can scroll through social media and get instant dopamine hits. You can watch endless hours of entertainment without any effort. Everything is designed to give you fast, easy pleasure. And because of this, people have become addicted to it. They can't focus for long periods. They can't stick to anything that doesn't give them immediate rewards. They can't put in the effort today for a result that might come months or years later, and that is exactly why they fail. Success requires the opposite of instant gratification. It requires you to work hard for long periods without seeing results. It requires you to stay disciplined even when you don't feel like it. It requires you to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term rewards. But most people can't do this because they have trained themselves to expect everything instant. They want success, but they want it now. They want to get in shape, but they don't want to put in months of consistent effort. They want financial freedom, but they don't want to put in the years of work it takes to build wealth. They want to be great at something, but they don't want to go through the process of being bad at it first. This is why most people never achieve anything great. The moment something gets hard, they quit. The moment is harder, it gets easier. You are a hard person. The moment they don't see immediate results, they give up. The moment they realize that success is a long, painful, uncomfortable process, they decide it's not for them. They would rather stay in their cycle of instant gratification, where they can get quick hits of pleasure without putting in real effort. But this comes at a cost. Every time they choose easy pleasure over hard work, they reinforce a habit of weakness. Every time they give in to distractions instead of focusing on their goals, they make failure their default setting. Every time they choose short-term comfort over long-term success, they lock themselves into a life of mediocrity. The difference between successful people and everyone else is that successful people are willing to do what's hard. They are willing to delay gratification. They are willing to put in the work for years without seeing results. They are willing to endure discomfort because they know that real success doesn't come instantly. They train themselves to love the process, not just the outcome. They develop the discipline to keep going even when it's boring, even when it's frustrating, even when it feels like nothing is happening. But the majority of people won't do this. They will keep chasing quick pleasures instead of long-term rewards. They will keep getting distracted instead of staying focused. They will keep quitting when things get tough instead of pushing through, and then they will wonder why they are still stuck in the same place year after year, while others are achieving what they never could. The people you surround yourself with determine the standards you hold yourself to. Most people fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack resources, but because they surround themselves with mediocrity. They spend time with people who think small, who complain, who settle for less. They adopt the mindset of their environment, and without even realizing it, they start lowering their own expectations. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their habits, their beliefs, their ambitions. These things are shaping you every single day. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, you will start making excuses. If you surround yourself with people who procrastinate, you will start procrastinating. If you surround yourself with people who never push themselves, you will stop pushing yourself. It happens without you even realizing it. Most people live in an environment that keeps them stuck. They spend time with coworkers who hate their jobs, friends who settle for average, family members who tell them to be realistic. They let these people dictate their mindset, their beliefs, their potential. They listen when people tell them their dreams are too big. They absorb the negativity, the doubt, the small-minded thinking, and over time, they start believing it. They start doubting themselves. They start lowering their ambitions to match the people around them. But look at anyone who has ever achieved massive success. They didn't surround themselves with mediocrity. They sought out people who challenged them, who pushed them, who held them to a higher standard. They understood that if they wanted to grow, they needed to be around people who were already at the level they wanted to reach. They didn't waste time with negative, complacent, small-minded people. They built a new environment, one that forced them to think bigger, work harder, and never settle. The truth is, your environment is either pushing you forward or pulling you backward. There is no in between. Every conversation you have, every interaction, every relationship is either fueling your success or draining it. Most people don't take control of this, and that's why most people never make it. They stay in toxic environments out of habit, out of loyalty, out of fear. They keep relationships that hold them back because they don't want to be alone. They surround themselves with people who reinforce their limitations instead of challenging them to break through. And then they wonder why they can't make progress. If you want to change your life, you need to change your environment. You need to cut out the people who are keeping you small. You need to stop spending time with those who drain your energy, who bring negativity, who make you doubt yourself. You need to start surrounding yourself with winners. People who inspire you, people who challenge you, people who make you level up. Because success isn't just about what you do, it's about who you do it with. But most people won't do this. Most people are too afraid to walk away from old relationships, even when those relationships are keeping them stuck. Most people are too scared to be the odd one out, to be the person who thinks differently, who wants more. Most people would rather fit in with mediocrity than stand out in greatness. And that is why most people will never be successful. And even if they have the right environment, most people still fail because they keep making excuses instead of taking action. They always have a reason why they can't start yet, why they can't commit fully, why they can't do what's necessary. They tell themselves they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, they don't have experience. They convince themselves that they need more information, more preparation, more motivation before they can begin. But these are just excuses. The reality is there will never be a perfect time. There will never be a moment when everything is lined up perfectly for you to start. You will never feel completely ready. You will never have all the answers in advance, and that's exactly why you need to start now. Successful people understand this. They don't wait until they feel ready. They don't wait for permission. They don't sit around hoping for the perfect opportunity. They take action even when it's messy, even when it's uncertain, even when they have no idea what they're doing, because they know that action creates momentum, and momentum leads to results. But most people do the opposite. They let their excuses control them. They tell themselves they'll start when they have more money, more time, more confidence. They convince themselves that they need to learn more, prepare more, think about it more, and in the process, they waste years doing nothing. They watch other people take action, get results, and move forward while they stay exactly where they are, trapped in a cycle of overthinking and procrastination. Excuses are the biggest dream killers in the world. They are the reason most people never achieve what they truly want, because the moment you allow yourself to make one excuse, it becomes easier to make another, and until eventually excuses become your default response to every challenge, every opportunity, every goal. Look at the most successful people in any field. They don't waste time making excuses. They don't focus on what they don't have. They don't let obstacles stop them. They figure it out. They find a way. They make it work. They take responsibility for their own success instead of blaming their circumstances. But the majority of people will never do this. They will keep waiting, keep hesitating, keep making excuses. They will spend years saying they want to change, but never actually doing anything about it. They will watch from the sidelines as others create the life they always wanted, and they will tell themselves that those people were just lucky, just privileged, just in the right place at the right time, because it's easier to believe that than to admit the truth that they could have done it too, but they chose not to. Most people never achieve real success because they are not obsessed. They like the idea of success. They want the rewards, but they are not willing to dedicate themselves fully. They treat success like a casual interest instead of a full-time commitment. They work hard when they feel like it, but the moment it gets difficult, the moment they don't see immediate results, they lose motivation. They don't wake up every day thinking about their goals, planning their next move, pushing themselves beyond their limits. They don't live and breathe success, they just dabble. The people who make it to the top don't do this. They are obsessed. Their goals consume them. They think about their vision every single day. They wake up with urgency, knowing that every second wasted is a second they can never get back. They don't rely on motivation, they rely on discipline. They don't wait until they feel like working, they work regardless of how they feel. They don't stop when they're tired, they stop when they're done. Success is not something they pursue when it's convenient, it's something they commit to no matter what. The difference between success and failure is obsession. Most people want balance, they want comfort, they want to enjoy life while also achieving great things. But that's not how it works. Every person who has ever reached the top had to sacrifice balance, sacrifice comfort, sacrifice everything that didn't align with their vision. They prioritized their dreams over entertainment, over distractions, over everything that didn't push them forward. And because of that, they succeeded while everyone else stayed stuck. Most people don't have this level of obsession, and that's why they never get the results they want. They approach their goals with a half-hearted effort and expect full-time success. They work on their business for a few hours a week and wonder why they aren't making progress. They go to the gym inconsistently and wonder why they aren't seeing results. They study a skill when they have extra time and wonder why they never become great at it. They are not obsessed, they are interested. And interest doesn't lead to success, only obsession does. And one of the biggest reasons people never develop this obsession is because they avoid pain. They don't want to struggle. They don't want to suffer. They want success to come easily, without hardship, without setbacks. But success doesn't work that way. Growth only comes through struggle. Strength is built through pain. Every setback, every failure, every obstacle is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to become stronger. But most people don't see it that way. The moment things get difficult, they quit. The moment they face resistance, they retreat. They avoid pain instead of embracing it. The most successful people in the world understand that pain is the price of greatness. They don't run from it, they run toward it. They see every challenge as a test, every setback as a lesson, every struggle as an opportunity to improve. They know that discomfort is a necessary part of the process, that growth only happens when you push past your limits. They train themselves to love the struggle because they know that the more pain they endure, the stronger they become. Most people will never be successful because they don't invest in themselves. They spend money on entertainment, on clothes, on things that give them temporary pleasure, but they hesitate when it comes to investing in their own growth. They refuse to buy books, to attend seminars, to hire mentors, to take courses that can elevate their skills. They want success, but they are not willing to invest in the one thing that will create it. Their mind. They think they can figure everything out on their own, that they don't need guidance, that they can succeed without putting anything in. But success doesn't work that way. The most successful people in the world understand that their greatest asset is their knowledge, their mindset, their skill set. They know that the more they learn, the more they earn. They are constantly feeding their minds, constantly leveling up, constantly looking for ways to get better. They understand that every great achiever stands on the shoulders of those who came before them, that learning from the best is the fastest way to success, but the majority of people never do this. They think education stops after school. They believe they already know enough. They are too proud to seek help, too comfortable to challenge their own thinking, too lazy to put in the work required to grow. They let their ego keep them small. They refuse to pay for knowledge because they see it as an expense rather than an investment. And because of that, they remain stuck, repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, staying at the same level year after year. The people who break through are the ones who never stop learning. They devour books. They seek out mentors. They invest in training. They constantly expand their minds. They understand that every dollar spent on growth will return tenfold. They know that knowledge is power, that the right strategy, the right mindset, the right information can change everything. They don't waste years trying to figure things out on their own when they can learn from someone who has already done it. They don't hesitate to pay for expertise because they understand that success is not a cost, it's an investment. And even if they do invest in themselves, most people still fail because they are waiting for permission. They are waiting for someone to tell them they are ready, waiting for the right circumstances, waiting for a sign that it's time to take action. They want validation, they want approval, they want someone to tell them that they have what it takes. But no one is coming to save them. No one is going to give them permission. No one is going to make success happen for them. They have to take it. They have to decide that now is the time, that they are ready, even if they don't feel ready. that they don't need anyone's approval to go after what they want. The most successful people in the world don't wait for permission. They don't wait for the right moment. They take control. They make the decision, they step up, take action, and create their own future. At the end of the day, success is not about luck, talent, or circumstances. It's about mindset, discipline, and relentless action. It's about whether you are willing to do what 99% of people won't. Because the truth is, most people will never be successful, not because they can't, but because they choose not to. They choose comfort over growth. They choose fear over courage. They choose distractions over focus. They choose excuses over action. And every single choice they make locks them further into a life of mediocrity. But for those who refuse to be part of that 99%, for those who are willing to think differently, act differently, and push themselves beyond their limits, the possibilities are endless. The ones who succeed are the ones who take responsibility for their lives. They stop blaming their past, their environment, their circumstances. They stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating their own opportunities. They stop listening to the doubters and start believing in their own potential. They understand that fear is just an illusion, that failure is not the end but a stepping stone, that discomfort is not something to be avoided but something to be embraced. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on habits. They don't wait for someone to tell them they are ready. They decide they are. They don't let life push them around. They take control. And because of that, they achieve what others only dream about. Most people want success, but they aren't willing to sacrifice for it. They want the rewards, but they don't want the struggle. They want the freedom, but they don't want to pay the price. But success demands everything from you. It requires obsession. It requires resilience. It requires pushing past every obstacle, every setback, every moment of doubt. It requires you to become someone different, to evolve, to grow, to develop the mindset of a winner. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission, this is it. If you're waiting for the right time, the right moment, the right circumstances, stop. The right time is now. The moment you stop making excuses and start taking massive action is the moment your life begins to change. The only difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't is that the successful ones didn't stop when it got hard. They didn't quit when things didn't go their way. They didn't let fear, doubt, or circumstances dictate their future. They made a decision and backed it up with relentless action. The question is, will you? Will you be one of the rare few who refuse to settle, who refuse to let life pass them by, who refuse to be controlled by fear and excuses? Or will you be like the 99%, the ones who spend their lives wishing for success but never doing what it takes to achieve it? The choice is yours. And the moment you make the right one, everything changes.